This is CNN Breaking News.
And you are live in the CNN Newsroom on this Saturday. I'm Pamela Brown in Washington. Great to have you along with us. So we are following two big breaking news stories at this hour. CNN just learning President Trump is planning to sign an updated travel ban order on Monday. Also breaking today, the president stuns members of his own team by sending out a series of tweets accusing former President Barack Obama of wiretapping his phones without any evidence. President Trump tweeting, "Terrible, just found out that Obama had wiretapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism." And just a short time ago, a spokesman for former President Obama put out this statement saying a cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfered with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. As part of that practice, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. White House correspondent Athena Jones joins me now live near Mar-a-Lago. Also with us, CNN crime and justice producer Shimon Prokupecz. Athena, I want to start with you here. A senior administration official told CNN that White House staff didn't learn of the president's tweets until after he sent them. What else are you learning from inside the Trump team?
Hi, Pamela. That's right. I should make it clear we're still awaiting any sort of official statement from the White House, from the president's press team. We've also asked for evidence, any evidence they can offer to back up the president's explosive allegations. But my colleague, a senior White House correspondent, Jeff Zeleny, did speak with a senior administration official who said, as you noted, that they were surprised by the president's tweet storm this morning. That's not very surprising because often the president does take to Twitter early in the morning. Today it was starting at around 6:30 a.m. And it's not as though he often runs these tweets by his communications staff. But this official said that they don't believe the president is trying to get ahead of any particular story that's about to come out, but rather that he's angry about all of these stories about Russia and all the questions that are being raised about his aides and his campaign aides' ties and contacts with Russian officials. The official also pointed to a Breitbart News story that has been circulating around the West Wing, which followed up on comments by the radio talk show host Mark Levin, who claimed that President Obama was working to undermine Trump's presidential campaign and his administration, including through these various investigations on Russia and the possible ties to Trump associates. And I should tell you that Trump's social media director, Dan Scavino, just a little while ago, tweeted a link to exactly that Breitbart story. So it seems pretty clear that this is what has influenced the president, what led him to put out those tweets this morning. But it's a story that's getting a lot of attention. Let's read just one of the tweets the president put out. He said, "How low has President Obama gone to tap my phones during the very sacred election process? This is Nixon/Watergate, bad or sick guy." Now, of course, the president has denied any involvement, called this categorically false. Other former Obama officials have said that, look, a president doesn't order wiretap. Congressman Schiff, who is the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, put out a tweet that says, if there's something bad or sick, it's willingness of at POTUS, the President of the United States, to make most outlandish and destructive claims without a scintilla of evidence. So a lot going on Twitter today, Pamela, and we are still awaiting any more explanation from the White House on an official level.
Yeah, certainly those tweets prompted a lot of reaction across the board, particularly among those who were in President Obama's administration. Shimon, you have been speaking with a former senior U.S. official. What has the reaction been from the Obama team on this wiretapping claim?
Well, that's right, Pam. I've been talking to a former senior U.S. official with direct knowledge of the investigation, of what the FBI was looking at what the Department of Justice was looking at. And basically, it's just a flat denial. I'll give you a quote exactly what this person told me, saying, "This didn't happen. It is made up, false, wrong." So just flat out denial from folks who are familiar with the investigation through the month of October, November, December, and into late January, saying that this never occurred. So basically, I think they were kind of surprised, naturally, by this allegation, by this accusation. But I don't know, politically speaking, if they were that surprised. It takes a lot to get this kind of a warrant to be able to wiretap someone's phone, especially a candidate for president. We were in October, just weeks before the election. This would have required a lot of proof, a lot of evidence to bring before a judge to get this warrant.
And as we've said, a president can't just order a wiretap on a U.S. citizen's phone. Thank you for breaking that down for us, Shimon. Athena, we've also just learned the president will sign an updated travel ban executive order. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. This is expected to happen at the Department of Homeland Security on Monday. Of course, plans could change. They've already changed a couple of times. You'll remember it was several weeks ago that a new revised travel ban was promised the following week, and then that didn't happen that week. It was then expected last week. It didn't happen last week. One official telling CNN that after the president's well-received address to the joint session of Congress on Tuesday night, they wanted to hold on to it and make sure that travel ban, the new travel ban, had its own moment. They didn't want to step on the positive reviews and positive news cycle from just after Tuesday night. So now that the plan is for it to come out on Monday, for it to be signed on Monday at the Department of Homeland Security. And again, this new travel ban is meant, the White House has said that it's being written with an eye to being able to better withstand legal challenges. So we'll have to wait and see what changes they make in order to do so. Pamela?
Clearly, they're taking a different approach this time around. Athena, Shimon, thank you very much. We'll see you again later in the show. And I want to bring in my panel now, CNN Global Affairs analyst and senior national security correspondent for the Daily Beast, Kimberly Dozier, and CNN contributor and reporter for the Washington Post, David Fahrenthold. Thank you both for coming on. Kimberly, first to you. President Trump did not offer any proof that his phone was wiretapped, but as Athena pointed out, President Obama wouldn't have been involved anyway, right?
Yes, but for his supporters, it doesn't matter. What he's very effectively done with an early morning tweet storm is change the channel on the media discussion. We would have been talking today about the latest revelations about contacts between the Trump campaign and Russia. We would have been talking about what is Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, going to say in written answers, clarifying exactly what conversations he had with the Russian ambassador. And instead, we're discussing this. Now, the other thing is, Trump is referring to classified information, things that only he really can declassify, so we also don't have a way to knock it down.
Other than talking to officials who are saying that this is false officials with direct knowledge of the investigation. So, David, what do you think? Do you think that this is just an attempt to distract from the headlines about Russia and people in his cabinet that Donald Trump simply doesn't like?
Well, I think it is, from Trump's perspective, from the president's perspective, an attempt to sort of hit back at his enemies. I don't think he can really see his enemies now. He feels, from our reporting, surrounded by people who he believes are undermining his agenda, and even people he knows, his own close aides, who are not doing enough to advance his agenda. So this is his way of sort of hitting back at one enemy that he can see, which is President Obama. It's interesting, he had such a good day on Tuesday with that speech that he read off the teleprompter. Instead of, now that he wants to change the subject, instead of returning to what he just proved a few days ago works, which was acting sort of more like a level-headed president, he's returned to this sort of, counter-punching and making wild accusations.
So what do you think about that, Kimberly? Because he was widely praised for acting more presidential just a few days ago, and now we have this Twitter storm with baseless allegations that not only that the president is wiretapping his phone, but also talking about The Apprentice and Arnold Schwarzenegger being fired. I mean, what do you make of all of this, Kimberly?
Ultimately, I think it's going to undermine his legitimacy with not just the Americans who didn't vote for him, but with foreign officials. Some that I've already spoken to in the past week, in the past couple of weeks, have said they are learning to do two things when they evaluate any U.S. policy. See what he said about it from the Oval Office, see what he's tweeted, but then also touch base with people like the Secretary of Defense, the DHS Secretary, what is H.R. McMaster, the new National Security Advisor, saying about it. So you're getting sort of two tiers of messages, and the diplomats I'm speaking to are paying more attention to the cabinet than they are to the commander-in-chief.
David, here's what the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, had to say when asked if he had any concerns that President Obama was surveilling Trump during the election.
Are you concerned on the flip side that the Obama administration may have been surveilling members of the Trump campaign in a pretty detailed investigation during the election?
Well, I don't think that's the case.
So clearly the Speaker has his doubts. But, David, do you see President Trump doubling down on this?
I could see him, in the last few weeks since he's been president, there's been times when he's sort of thrown out a wild accusation in response to sort of some moment of personal stress. Think of him saying that 3 million people voted illegally, or that he was going to send the feds into Chicago. And we talk about it for a whole day and think and try to imagine the consequences that will come if he's going to focus on that subject. And then he just moves on to something else. So it's very possible that will happen. He'll be talking about something else tomorrow and the travel ban on Monday. If he continues to focus on this, I think Trump started this presidency with such a powerful weapon in his Twitter account. He had the ability to change the agenda to be whatever he wanted, and he's losing it. He's giving that power away by blowing it on things like this that even he doesn't follow up on.
So on that note, how problematic, David, do you think his use of Twitter is overall?
Well, for him, I think if he ever turned it to be a weapon, maybe weapon's the wrong word, turned it to be a tool to advance particular policy goals, to advance something that he was going to put his own attention and time behind, I think it could still be really powerful, not as powerful as it would have been if he'd done that the whole time. I mean, if he wanted to push for a particular health care outcome, a particular tax reform outcome, and use his Twitter account, which we all in political journalism follow, it could be really powerful. But if he's going to throw out different things and then forget about them in a different thing every day, then it's not going to be helpful for him, and I think it just leaves the rest of the administration and Congress in confusion.
And Kim, the president's allegations follow a baseless report by right-wing radio host Mark Levin. Let's take a listen.
How many phone calls by Donald Trump, if any, have been intercepted by the Obama administration and recorded by the Obama administration, and all the other transition officials involved in foreign policy and national security and defense policy? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the real scandal.
So, Kimberly, if it does turn out that the president is taking his cues from a radio show, spewing out baseless claims, as we just heard there, how concerning is that?
Well, that's exactly what I meant in terms of his base is listening to him, listening to radio shows like that, and they don't care what we're reporting here. This is going to become one of those new mantras among those who are supporters of Donald Trump, that the last administration was spying on him. And if there is anything revealed in terms of perhaps Russians who were in touch with members of the Trump campaign were being spied upon, maybe that is what Donald Trump is talking about. Even that sliver of proof is going to be seized on by those who support him.
And of course, in the tweets, though, he really focused on the fact that claiming that the President Obama was wiretapping his phone specifically, which, again, we were told by officials was false. All right, stay with me, to the two of you. We have much more to discuss. And coming up, embattled Attorney General Jeff Sessions set to meet with President Trump tonight at Mar-a-Lago. Plus, a Russian spy, a man about town in Washington, or both. What we know about the Russian ambassador and his many, many meetings in Washington.